Hey there, and happy Friday. It's Tisha back with you for another Tisha Talks Live at 10:45. So excited to be back with you. It's been a hot minute. I was just telling Chris in the green room that the last one I did was with Robert on June 30th, and then took pretty much the summer off to just spend time with family, travel, do all sorts of fun things. And now we are back in action. So before I bring my guest in, I want to give you a couple of announcements coming up and give a special thanks to my sponsor, Gateway Bank. They're out here in Arizona and also are sponsoring my Social Connect Phoenix event. This is coming up on October 25th. I'm calling it my last call. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, professional in the area, then definitely get to this. This is going to be at Courthouse in Chandler from 4 to 6 p.m. You can grab tickets at socialconnectphx.com. I also have my Success Over Struggle panel, where I will be interviewing a few entrepreneurs about their story. And of course, Connecting Through Community is another event that I'm getting ready to host. This is coming up on October 7th, teaming up with the House of Refuge out here in the Mesa area. And we're going to be doing some fun painting projects, landscaping projects to help the women out there who are in transitional housing. So I hope you'll join me as we lend a hand in connecting the community and helping to support a local nonprofit. So I see some comments coming in. I just want to say, hey, Louise from Groovy Ventura, California. Good to see you. I know we have some people also joining us on Facebook and on LinkedIn and YouTube. So if you are tuning into this live or if you're catching us on the replay, make sure you say hi. If you have questions about video, I've definitely got your man on. Chris Weiher is going to be talking about all things video. Oh, Royce Blake, good to see you. Saying, hey, I need my Tisha fix. I know, Royce, I missed you so much. Thanks so much for being on with us. We're going to get this started. You guys know how I like to do it. We like to start off with a little bit of a dance party going on. So give me about 30 seconds, and here we Well, welcome back, everybody. I'm getting some likes off of Facebook. Thanks so much for tuning in. Again, happy Friday. We are ready to go, and I am going to bring in my special guest. This is Chris Weiher. Chris, join me at Tisha Talks Live. Thanks so much for being here today with me.
Thank you for having me. This is always exciting to come back on your show. Happy to be here.
Yeah, Chris, first time guest coming back. You're kicking it off with me. So I feel like I have to get reacclimated to doing live streams again. It's been a while.
Yeah. No, this is exciting. I haven't done too many live streams on LinkedIn. So this is fun.
Yeah, well, I haven't messed up yet, so that's good news. All right, everyone. Well, thanks again for joining us again. As I mentioned, if you're tuning in off of Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, also on Chris's profiles, it's streaming live there. Chris is the founder of CLEAVER Creative. He is currently based in North Carolina, his new home. And today we're talking all about video on LinkedIn. So if you are nervous about video, or even if you're a seasoned professional about video, then Chris has some great tips and tricks of how to use video and how to use it really to grow your business. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I love video. I probably don't use it enough, Chris. I'll just be perfectly honest, but I love that we can dive into this authentic conversation and talk about it. Giving a big shout out to Robert Lee saying, howdy, Tisha.
Hey.
Great to see Chris as a guest. Thanks so much, Robert.
I know, Robert.
Yeah. And Robert saying, no worries. Anything can happen live for sure. Oh, yeah. Again, like I was just telling Chris, I've had the craziest things happen. I would say that the most interesting thing that's happened on a live stream is not just dogs barking, because you get dogs barking, right? Like they don't know when you're on a live stream. But I would say hailstorms. Yeah, that was one fun one.
That's fun. I don't have the dogs, but I do have 3 cats that are in this place, and when they get insane, it's intolerable. So that could happen at any moment. So just to
Oh
keep
yeah,
the levels of
absolutely.
anticipation high.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin Logan. Thanks for joining us. Kevin Logan Jr. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you. And we got DC James, the head coach. Yo, time to do it. Yes, time to do it. All right, Chris, are you ready? First question. Here we go.
Let's do it.
So we're talking today about video on LinkedIn. Why do you feel people should do video on LinkedIn? Why do you feel like it's a necessary?
Sure. Well, there's a number of reasons, obviously, but the biggest reason is it is networking at scale. So this became very, very apparent when we all went through the pandemic and when we weren't able to network in person anymore. A lot of people started to embrace video in a way that they probably would not have otherwise. And the brilliance of it is that once you get good at it, you can essentially create your own networking event where you get to talk about what you want to talk about for a few minutes a week. And you're sending that message out to 100 or even 1,000 people or more on LinkedIn. And when you think about it in that perspective from a small, medium business size owner, that's incredibly valuable. And it should really become probably a part of everyone's uh, arsenal of skills, no matter where they're at in their business journey.
All right, so I want to say hi to this gal and give her a big shout out, Jennifer Pinner. So excited to watch. I love all things LinkedIn. Jennifer, just a shout out for her. She's actually my guest next Friday. Happens to be my big 44th birthday. Yay!
Ah,
And Jennifer
awesome.
and I will be talking about storytelling. So I feel like this is such a great segue, Chris, because you're talking about video. Jennifer will be talking about storytelling and how to use that to drive business as well. And I would just ask the question, so many of us are like, well, how do I get started? And what am I supposed to say on video? And how much is too much? And how much is too little? Like, so I know that's kind of a loaded question, so you could take it in parts. But but I would just ask the question because I know I work with a lot of people on just personal branding, and I'm always pushing the video. I'm always like, you know what, when you do a video, that is such a great opportunity for people to get to know your personality, see if they jive, they want to start a conversation with you. It's like you mentioned, it's really more about the networking aspect of putting a video out there and seeing what is coming back in terms of the interaction and the engagement you get. So what would you say to someone who was like, I don't know how to do this, I don't know where to start?
Sure. So we actually have some similar offers and probably work with people in a similar way as far as coaching them and helping them get started with video. And the way that we typically work and the way I typically work is usually with like a long interview where we sit down for an hour and a half and we go through all these different questions. And sometimes I think people are surprised by the questions because they're like, why are you asking me about like what sports I did in high school? Why are you asking me about like what I do on my downtime? Trying to talk about my business. The more specialized and niche your business is, the more
Mhm.
you need to talk about things that are outside of your business because that brings in that larger audience that goes, "Oh, you love tennis. You played tennis in high school. I played tennis in high school. I don't know very much about industrial engineering, but when this guy talks about tennis, I'm all ears." And then you become that industrial engineering expert who's also a big tennis fan. So that's a piece that I try and pull out of people is like, what are you passionate about outside of your business? When I talk to people about how to get started with video, talking about their business, I usually say, think about 10 frequently asked questions you get, and then think about 10 questions you don't get about your business, but you really wish people would ask you. And usually it's those 10
Mhm.
questions that people aren't asking you, but you really wish they would, that's like some really meaty content that you can talk about. And for me, when I first started doing videos on LinkedIn, that first one that I did was, why should you be doing video? And nobody ever asks me that unless it's in a context like this. But like no prospects usually ask me that outright. And I really wanted to tell my opinion on it. And that was like, it was a really clear sign that this works because people got conversations going with people.
I really like that. So asking someone, what are the 10 questions that people frequently ask you, but what are the things that you wish people would ask you? I think that's such a great
Hmm.
starting point too. And then taking it and breaking it into smaller chunks and even expanding upon it. I know there are several video creators, and I'm sure you say the same thing too, Chris, where you can take a long form video like your podcast, your blog, and then really chop it up into smaller pieces so that you always have content. You always have content to share.
Yes, and I think that's a great method as well. And I noticed this working with different people. Some people have the talent that they can just basically let a camera roll, ask them one question, and they just deliver it, and it's really good content and it really resonates. Some people are great storytellers, but they have a much, much harder time just talking to a camera and telling a story in a way that we can really consume it in an easy way. And
Mm-hmm.
so, for those folks that really are less comfortable, that's usually kind of a route that I try and push them and say, well, maybe you need to be going on podcasts. Maybe you need to have people prompting you and asking questions rather than just doing a vlog. I think ideally, it's probably a good skill to learn both because especially for LinkedIn when the content is so niche down, you
Mm-hmm.
sometimes want to be able to just deliver a very succinct message saying like, "Hey, this is a very important message for my network. This event is coming up or here's something that's really new in the industry or like provocative in the industry that I want to lend my voice to." So it is a skill that I think is worth learning, but some people just are going to gravitate more towards that interview format, and I think that's that whatever works.
I think so. So I'm working with a client right now and we're getting ready to shoot a get to know me video for him. And he was like, I totally want to do something like The Office. And I was like, that is great. But then we ended up going toward he really likes the interview style because, like you said, there's so many people that perhaps turning a camera on them, they freak out, the red light goes on, and they're just like, and I know that there's that nerve-wracking feeling of what are people going to say when they see my video? Do I look good? Do I feel comfortable? So I like what you're saying of figure out what really works for you. If you like that interview style, that's probably a good first way to get those videos done.
Yes. Yeah, I think there's definitely a learning curve, and I think I've seen that with most of my clients as well, is that, I had one client where when we first recorded, we got done with the first video and I was like, "It sort of seems like you don't want to be here." And he's like, "I don't. This is really
It's like you could
uncomfortable.
tell that.
Yeah, he's like, "I don't like it." And I was like, "I can tell. Like, you need to find a way to have fun with this somehow." And he's like, "Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll give it a shot." But then, as things went on, I started getting some results from it. He was like, "Okay, I like it more now." It's easier when you start to get results and reactions, which that's the other thing that I really do love about LinkedIn is that other than TikTok, as far as organic reach, it's the best place to be. Like you actually get really, really good organic reach, which is you don't get on LinkedIn or you don't get on Instagram and Facebook very much.
Yeah, you might get likes, but the engagement I feel is where it's at too.
Hmm.
All right, I have another question for you, Chris, and then anyone in the comments too. Make sure you ask away. We've got Chris, the master of video creation, on.
Well,
So
I would say you're definitely dominating in your video game as well. So I would actually be interested to hear like some of your tips as well, because you've been learning to use video probably more and more over the past few years as well. So like what let me flip it around. What has been your biggest learn from all of this?
okay, so look at this. Chris is putting me in the hot seat. And so I get to talk about video for a little bit. So I was talking to Chris about this in the green room about a friend that I have who I just saw in the Bay Area, and she was killing it. TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, video, video, video. And I won't name names, but she and I spoke the other last month when went to see her. And she's like, I just got so burnt out. I just don't want to do it. I don't even want to create. I'm just tired of all of it. And she pretty much has been off the grid, kind of poking in here and there, but really not being as active on video. And one thing that she said that I was like, oh, I'm so flattered. Thank you. Was she's like, Tisha, you've been able to stick to one thing and really see that through. And it's something that people have really come to know you for. And you've made it almost like a series. And I remember another friend of ours was like, every time I see, and before it was Convo in my Camry, and now it's Lessons in my Lexus. He's like, every time I see that, you always are posting it on a Friday afternoon. And I know it's ready for the weekend because you're always like, see ya, bye, have a great weekend. Here's the lesson. I'm off, you know? And
When
he's
is
just
it
like,
going to be Real Stories in your Rolls Royce?
we're not quite there yet, but I was
next
absolutely
year.
happy to. I know, but what's funny about it though, Chris, is I've gotten a lot of people who have said, wow, you've set this trend that now I should create something like conversations in my Kia, civic chats, like all these people that are trying to do it in their car as well. And it's interesting because when people come in, so Chris, next time you're in Arizona or when I see you and I'm actually driving my car, I usually have my guest jump in the car with me and be my lesson for the week. Like I'm like, you give the lesson for the week, I'll interview you, almost like the karaoke thing that, James Corden does, or the car karaoke. But I was like, you give the lesson because you're my special guest. I get to introduce my network to people that way too. And it's so funny because here I bring my little phone out, my iPhone. I have my little tripod selfie stick. I park it right behind my steering wheel. And people are like, is that all? And I'm like,
It's incredible. It's incredible the power of the cameras that we carry around. Like I think really we take it for granted just how good these cameras are. Because I get the same thing. I mean, I've got really nice expensive cameras. I record all my vlogs on my phone because it's such an easy thing to do, and you can record it when you're on the road, you can record it when you're walking around. It's so simple. Yeah, no, it's wild to me.
right. Yeah. I just blew them by surprise. And I'm like, this is it. It's the phone, it's a tripod stick, and I'm in good lighting because I'm in my car and I've got good
Right.
acoustics in here. And
So
so
so to
that's
that
really it.
point, is that the one is that thing that you sort of learned is like is pick one thing and stick with it for the long term?
I feel like it's something that I know I could manage. It's something that I know I can honestly show up for each week. Like it's an accountability thing for me. And I think that's why when we're like, oh, we just did do video. Okay, well, how frequently are you going to do video? So for me, making social media super simple of, okay, every Friday, I'm going to do this, just like this live stream. Okay, every Friday, minus vacationing, I'm going to do a live stream and show up. Right. And I think that people just start to get ingrained and educated. Oh, Tisha's on. I can count on her to be on. Right. And so that made me feel really good because I wasn't just picking straws and saying, well, I hope this works. Because that's the thing too, Chris, is I know that today we're talking about how does video drive your business? What is the value of business of the video? And I can honestly pinpoint connections I've made, clients that I've made, just sponsors that I've gotten, all because of doing just that video every single week. And that's what I keep telling people is consistency is really the key. If you're like, I did it once or twice, I didn't really get much out of it, I'm over it, then you really didn't stick with it for the long term. Because I've been doing this for years and people still chase me down in coffee shops asking if I'm that girl. So they know what I
Right.
drive, they know what to look for. Like it
Right.
just is kind
Right.
of a fun thing to kind of be celebrity status because of this convo, I think.
It's fantastic when you meet somebody in real life and they just start talking to you like either your friend, and they do
Yeah.
know you from your content, but you've never met before. And the coolest part is like when you're following their content, they're following your content, you get on a call and it's like you are friends because you basically know each other. It's
Mhm.
a really interesting sort of world we're living in. I just saw there's a question from Royce Blake. Do
Yeah. Let me
Loom
pop it up on the
type
screen.
explainer videos work? or are talking heads better? So I can answer that. So my company, Cleaver Creative, we started out doing a lot of explainer videos, and for years we did tons of animation videos, which were really really popular. Starting like early mid 2000s, everybody wanted an explainer video. Um, they still have a purpose, and usually I would recommend them for a complicated product or service that you want to explain very succinctly in an animated, fun, cool way. So if you have an app, if you want to explain maybe your consulting service in a very succinct way, there's a value there. You might want to put that in the bottom of your email, and so that anybody who you're emailing for the first time can be like, "You want to learn what we do? Click on this explainer video." If your business is high touch as far as consulting or being, having interactions with people, then I would recommend having a presence where you're talking on camera to some extent. And that can either be, going on podcasts, using that, turning that in clips and showing off, your knowledge that way, or starting a vlog. So they all have value. Generally, what I typically recommend for small businesses is that you are your biggest asset, and using video allows you to scale your biggest asset. So I generally say, like, if you're not using video, you need to start practicing and trying it out so that you can put it in your tool belt of tricks to help you grow.
hmm Yeah, that's a great question too. And I like that because remember what we were talking about earlier too, Royce, that just like Chris said, you are your biggest asset. So if you are never on screen and it's always something else on screen and maybe just your voice, I don't think people get the full effect of your personality, even your gestures, things like that. So perhaps it's a mix. So yeah, good
Yes.
question. Good
Yeah, and
question.
and like you were talking about the right recipe, we were talking about the right recipe as far as how often you should be putting out content.
hmm
I generally recommend as well, one video a week is a really good recipe to say, I'm going to show up every Wednesday. I'm going to be talking about these three topics. You can count on me. It's just like going to a networking event. You're not going to get a client on the first time you go to a networking event. Probably not going to get a client on your first video, but maybe after 8, maybe after 12, some people that I've worked with, it's taken over a year for them to get work from their videos. Uh, it starts to build up. Um, that said, as well, I've also worked with people, and it's just becomes clear that video is not their best form of communication. Like they're not as comfortable with it. Even if they practiced all day every day for years, they would just never be super comfortable with it. Does that mean they should never do video? I don't think so. I think they should still show up occasionally on video and be like, hey, you know here's a big milestone for my company, here's a big personal milestone, just wanted to say hi to everybody. You should still show up so people get to know what you're like before they meet you, and how your style is, how you come across. But so I wouldn't say it's mandatory that you have to do a video every week, but I still think you should incorporate that into your communication strategy.
I like what you're saying too about what is something that you can teach about your business, right? So I was doing a video series for a bit called Teach Me Tisha. And every Tuesday it was that great question that we asked about before. What are 10 things that people ask you and 10 things that you wish you would be asked? And you break it down and you create that content where you're having a teachable moment and people see that you are this expert and that you could perhaps present the offer of, you know, direct message me if this is something you're interested in and so forth. But there should always be that call to action of what do I do after? Right. So once I
Right.
watch your video.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and like that's kind of like an interesting thing as well now, because there's so much there's so much that we can DIY, and I think a lot of companies are doing it themselves, and like just like figuring out their social media strategy, figuring out their communication strategy. But there's so much to learn. Like we're testing out, it feels like a new app, like every other week, and going like, is this the right app? Should we switch from Hootsuite to this thing? Should we try this new streaming thing? Should we try this new recording? There's so much to learn. It's like infinite. It's down. And I think also too, like what we've found is YouTube is a great, probably the best platform for that as well, as far as like if you put a how-to video out, just about anything that's specific, it's going to get views. And then if you can sort of tie that into your business and put a little commercial at the end, it's gold.
All right, so here's just kind of an off-the-cuff question since you mentioned how-to videos. And I'd love for you guys in the comments to also post, what was the last thing you looked up on YouTube as a how-to? Because I can share, it was just yesterday. Chris, I'll give you a minute as you think. But okay, so you guys know I talk about it a lot on LinkedIn. I am a soccer mama. I am on the fields every single day and on the weekends. I've got 2 kids, Caleb and Ellie, who are club soccer players. And yesterday, I literally had to go to my in-laws and say, 1, do you have a good iron? And 2, how do I put these patches on his jersey without burning his jersey? And so my mother-in-law is like, well, let's Google it and let's go on YouTube. And we literally sat there and watched a video of how to put a patch on a jersey without singeing the shirt. Classic.
It has everything. Yeah, it has everything. When I first started my business over 10 years ago, I started a YouTube channel, and you can look it up if you want to embarrass me.
Oh,
Died there. Are we still? Oh, okay. We back?
Yeah, you're here. We're back. It was just a brief second.
Okay. So it's called How to Livable. Check it out if you want to. It has millions of views, and I think we have, a few thousand subscribers, but I really just wanted to do it just to see, as like a research lab, to see like what are people searching for? What are they interested in? Like what kinds of things can we create? So that when I made my Cleaver Creative YouTube channel, I had a better idea of like what content is going to work well. But like the How to Livable channel is just literally like anything that was a Google search that I was doing. I was like, I'm gonna make a video about this and see if people watch it as a video, and it's got tons and tons of views. But right now, the thing that I'm probably watching the most tutorials on YouTube is Facebook ads, because we're doing more with Facebook ads now, which is really fun, but so complicated.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't touch that stuff. So hey, if you guys need Facebook ads, Chris would be your guy for that too. Good. Well,
maybe I should try and sell you on that, because it's definitely worth playing in that space.
Oh, good. All right. So Luis, thank you. Always an awesome topic, keeping it groovy. And then Roy's saying makes total sense, Chris. Thank you. Good. All right. So I want to dive into this question in the time that we have, Chris, and then give you some time for some shameless plug. But we talked about this a little bit, and a little bit even earlier about like how much content really should you produce? And we said at least trying to get on 1 time a week is good, but it also depends on the industry. So are there people that you see that are just constant, every day is a video, every day is a video? I mean, you being a video production company, I would assume is more video based.
Yes, I typically, so I post 1 video a week. That is what I've done since like fall of 2018, and it works. Like get great engagement, grow clients, these different things. We are a video production company, so we kind of get to cheat that way because I don't really have to post articles. In my mind, it really doesn't make sense for me to post articles because it's like what we do is video. So that's pretty much the only thing you should be seeing from me is some form of video. Mm-hmm. Our clients, usually I recommend 1 video a week as well, but it does need to be supplemented with other pieces of content, whether that be a newsletter, case studies, what have you. Video works really, really well for know, like, and trust. But for some companies, it's harder to build that trust in a video. For someone who has like a very complicated service that they offer, a lot of times people don't want to sit through a 5-minute video of you talking all about the ins and outs of your service. What they do want to hear from you is like, hey, I just celebrated my son's 10th birthday and we did this great thing and da 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 da. They get to know you. They get to know what you care about. They get to like you. They get to feel like they know and like you that way. So very minimum, think about it in those 2 ways, to say like, I want to use video to build up know and like, and then I'm going to build trust maybe through my other pieces of content. And so maybe that's one video a week and then one article a week, or you're going to use it with your newsletter in conjunction with that and reference that video there. But that would be my general rule of thumb.
I like it. Good. All right, Janae joining us. Janae, good to see you. Enjoyed the topic. Thanks to you both. Yeah, this is a great topic. I love video. As I mentioned, I'm always pushing clients, and just even doing that get to know me video. Like if you missed earlier, Chris and I were talking about it shouldn't just always be about your business. It should be about what you enjoy, what you're passionate about. And I'll be honest, Chris, like what's really easy for me on doing those lessons in my Lexus is like I can always pinpoint something that happened this week or even in my past that taught me a really great lesson. So it's a really good move in just storytelling, which people remember stories. People will always remember stories. Like I don't know if you saw my lesson last week. I think some of them did, some of the people watching, but I talked about forgoing the Chick-fil-A sandwich and seizing the opportunity instead, which then turned into a speaking opportunity because I chose to speak to the speaker.
What? I did not hear this.
Would you like me to enlighten you?
Yes, I need to know this story.
All right. And then you'll go back and watch the actual lesson because I get pretty animated with my hands and stuff. And yeah. So years ago, so this is a great networking story for everybody listening too. And I know Royce, you had a great comment. He's like, you chose not to fill your belly, but to nurture your future. And I thought that was such an awesome comment that you left for me. So years ago, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that I had a speaking gig with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. You remember I was on a stage and I went to Sedona, took my mom with me. And years ago, I can pinpoint the exact opportunity, the exact time I met this woman. So this woman and I were both speaking at Phoenix Startup Week, and I was on one day and she was on the next day, but she happened to be the before lunchtime speaker. And you guys know, if you're the before lunchtime speaker, everybody's like, I've got lunch on my mind. I'm just kind of here, but I'm really not here. It's like the worst time to be. So she was an amazing speaker. And while everybody was exiting the room to go get free Chick-fil-A sandwiches, I chose to actually stay and talk to her. So I talked to this woman, Sasha. She was incredible. I'm like, I kind of aspire to be her. Like she was already on the paid speaking circuit. And so I sat there and I chatted with her. Well, turns out months later, she was actually supposed to be speaking at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, but had another speaking conflict. So she referred me instead. So saying no to Chick-fil-A sandwiches actually got me the gig to speak with the USDA, which then got me booked again to speak just a couple weeks ago. Because they were like, I remember you, you're interactive, you're engaging, you're a good storyteller. Our audience loved you. Come back again. So I was just kind of laughing because I was like, that's a lot of Chick-fil-A sandwiches I could now buy.
I'm really embarrassed to say like how hard that choice would probably be for me. I'd probably be like Chick-fil-A, amazing business opportunity. Chick-fil-A, amazing business opportunity. I can't decide.
Well, but that's the thing is, honestly, Chris, I wasn't going into it with this intention of, if I speak to Sasha, I'm going to get a speaking gig. It was just like, I just wanted to know her and get to know her. And I always say that I was like, if you miss an opportunity to meet someone, will you get the opportunity again? Because not very many of us, I'm going to clue you into this, not very many people are very good at the follow through or continuing the conversation. It's like, I met you and then I never saw you again. Maybe I see you years from now. And I'm like, hey, we knew each other from way back when. I'm like, yeah, but how much time has passed since that time when we first met where we could have either been a resource or helped each other out?
And I will say that, not to make it all about video all the time, but I just can't help myself. That is something that I hear from clients as well, is I have one client who said, he signed, a $50,000 contract with someone last year. And this was somebody he met 3 years ago in person. And he's like, people don't remember you 3 years ago. They might remember that, your face, your name, maybe they remember that you had a good conversation, but they don't remember what you do, what you know, the in-depth detail of your business. And by staying in front of her in videos every single week, talking about exactly what he knows. When she went to a new company, it was like an easy decision to give him a call. So like that's just, one more thing the video does is it keeps you top of mind, which I think is what you're talking about, is like, how do you stay in front of people?
Right. Right. Yeah, so I'm getting ready. I want to start releasing another video series, Chris, that I think is very manageable. But I see people who just borrow a lot of inspirational quotes, and it just kind of drives me insane. It drives me insane.
Mm,
Like they just pull from Pinterest, they put the inspirational quote up, and it even says like at boss babes or something on it. It's just is like, can't you just create your own graphic for this? So I have this idea of doing something a little bit more motivational, but doing it for video instead. So you'll just have to tune in because I'm going to release
okay,
it.
all right.
You're
So
going to
this
hold
is
me
just a
accountable because I got
teaser.
to get it
This is
going.
just a teaser right now.
Yeah, this is
Okay,
just a teaser, but it's like, how can you put your own spin on that motivational Monday topic, but do it in your own
right.
way and utilize the video to do it?
Do you
That's it.
find that creating your content gets you more ideas? Like, does the act of creating things help you create more things? Because for me, that's the way it feels. Like I really was nervous when I first started creating things, and then actually creating it, putting it out there, and seeing the reaction gave me tons more of ideas of what I wanted to do in the future.
Mhm. I think so.
But it's
I think
that
so.
for me, it's that full cycle. It's like you can make it and you can sit on it and you're never really going to know if it performs. But to me, that's what actually like gives me extra creative energy is seeing what people think of it, and then it sparks a new idea.
I do too. I think that, and just from the engagement, I'm just laughing because Robert's like, I'm easily teased. Oh boy. But I think that looking at the types of content that you're putting out there and seeing what types of engagement you get, it gives you that little fire of, okay, people like this. I'm going to do more things like this. And I don't know if you saw in my
Hmm.
little dance video, Chris, but in 2020, I was actually named one of Arizona's greatest storytellers, which I'm like, heck
I
yeah,
did see that.
I'm going to just keep storytelling. But it's not like I just rolled out of bed and I started doing this. I've been sharing stories. I actually have a couple of books out with stories and lessons. So I'm just like taking it from the story version to putting it now into video of this is the lesson I learned from this story and making it kind of, a
Right,
shorter video. So, I mean, we
right.
have so much content that you're right. It just kind of sparks that for sure.
Yeah. Well, they do say that people have a really hard time remembering facts and figures, but they can remember stories. And I'm sure you guys will talk about that next week when you're talking about storytelling. But it's just
Yeah.
a fact. Like people don't remember basic facts, but if you put it in the framework of a beginning, middle, and end, then it sticks with them.
Right, right, exactly. All right, so I wanted to put this up here because it just made me laugh. Chris, yeah, the reverse card move interviewing the interviewer. Yeah, you saw how he did that, Robert. He's like, Tish, I'm going to ask you about this. That was good. That
Well,
was
I
good.
mean,
Putting me in the hot seat.
I do feel like, an expert in what I do, but what's fascinating to me is how many people are using video and how they're using video and how they're doing it differently and how it works for them. So it's like, I think, you are as much of an expert at video as I am, which is pretty cool because I like learning from other people too.
That's cool. I love it. All right. Well, I know we have Bruce also joining us saying very informative. Thanks. Hey, thanks so much for everybody who tuned in off of LinkedIn and on YouTube and Facebook. I know we got some Facebook love as well. So great to be back. Like, I'm like, okay, we may have some comments coming in, but this is amazing. Thanks so much for your questions, your comments, your funny jokes. And I want to give Chris an opportunity. He mentioned it a little bit, but shameless plug time, Chris. And then I'm going to put up how people can find you so that we can keep this networking party going. So here's his website. But Chris, tell us, what are you working on? You mentioned Facebook ads. Tell us how people can find you.
I would say shameless plug, follow me on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my primary content creation place where I like to social network. I spend the most time on LinkedIn. So follow me or connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to have conversations and always happy to help people get started with video regardless of where they're going to go with it. So happy to give tips, and I like to give tips through my content as well. Things that we're working on right now, like I said, we're doing a lot more with Facebook ads. I'm really enjoying that. We're doing that for my company, Cleaver Creative, but then also for one of the companies that I'm working with, which is really exciting. They have an app that they're building, which is pretty fun. And then, the normal work that we're doing, the regular work that we're doing is usually working with businesses, small businesses, usually helping them create their video content strategy. And a lot of times that's vlogs. There's some podcasts in there as well. But pretty much if it's video, I love talking about it.
Awesome. All right. Well, I know we have a couple more comments coming in. Yes.
Thanks,
Let's
Robert.
see. Robert, I love Tisha Talks. Thank you. And another one from Robert. I'll definitely check your work out. Yes, if you are not using video, hopefully this live stream tells you why you should be using video and that you don't have to burn yourself out, right? You don't have to be doing 5 videos, even 7 videos a week and posting it, because we all know that people get burnt out. But if you can stick to 1 video a week, I think that you'll start to see and you'll start to enjoy it, and it will start to be kind of second nature. I know that people get really nervous about it, but you don't have to go live. You can record, you can get the one that you really want, the take, and then you can post it. But don't be so hard. Don't be so critical of yourself and be too judgy. Don't do that. Just post it.
Yeah.
We love you.
Yeah. You really don't know what people are going to think until you put it out there. And at a certain point, like, I think you should be a little bit nervous when you put out your video. You don't want to be like mortified, but you want to be like just like a little bit, like, because if you try and wait till it's perfect, you've waited too long. You just need to like get it done, get it reasonably happy with it, put it out there and see what people say.
Right. Exactly. Well, good stuff. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for being on with me on my very first
pleasure.
Tisha Talks live back. It's been a pleasure. And thanks again to everybody who tuned in and gave us some love. And we will catch you back. Like I said, next Friday, I will be wearing the birthday crown, of course, because I've got to. But celebrating my 44th, and Jennifer Pinner will be on. We're talking all about storytelling. So again, great segue into video. And now how do we utilize some of the stories that you already have, right? You already have so many stories in your arsenal that you could be talking about to create those great videos. So make sure you join us. We'll be back at 10:45 live, or you can always catch the replay. As always, have a great weekend, and we'll catch you back next week. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Tisha.
Thank you.